The forest breathes first, wet loam, camwood, the green bite of mango leaves. Then comes the drum, a low heartbeat that rolls through the Osun-Osogbo sacred grove and finds your chest. Sunlight fractures on the slow river, scattering gold across a surface that has reflected the same rites for 6 centuries. Somewhere behind the silk cotton trees, a woman begins to chant in a voice older than her body, and every syllable feels like water poured onto memory. You have crossed into one of the last living arteries of the ancient Yoruba world. 400 kilometers northeast of Lagos, the town of Osogbo spreads along the banks of the Osun River. According to the palace chronicles kept since the 15th century, the site was chosen when the warrior hunter Olutimehin led his clan southward from the crumbling Oyo heartland around 1450 CE. They hacked at the undergrowth, determined to plant new farms, but the river answered with a woman's voice, "Leave my grove, or stay and serve." The apparition, Osun, owner of the river, guardian of fertility and love, offered a covenant, annual sacrifice in exchange for prosperity and protection. Olutimehin accepted. The settlement grew, and every year since, the promise has been renewed in a festival that now draws more than 100,000 pilgrims. The covenant was not merely spiritual, it was political. By the early 19th century, when Fulani cavalry raided southward and the old Oyo Empire collapsed, Osun's protection became the mythic shield that allowed Osogbo to survive. In 1840, at the Battle of Osogbo, the town's united warriors, farmers, hunters, and priestesses repelled the Illyrian forces. Oral historians still claim that a sudden mist rose from the river, confusing the invaders' horses, and that the goddess herself walked among the defenders. Whatever the truth, the victory sealed Osun's identity as both deity and citizen soldier, an eternal guarantor of sovereignty. Colonialism should have ended the story. British administrators arrived in 1893, mapped the grove, and eyed the timber. Missionaries followed, calling the river spirits heathen devils. Yet each attempt to fell the forest met invisible resistance. Lightning struck surveyors' tents, laborers fell ill, and officials dreamed of drowning. By the 1950s, concrete drains and asphalt roads pressed against the grove's edge, but the trees held their ground. In 1965, an Austrian artist named Susanne Wenger, already initiated into the cult of Obatala, moved into a mud-walled studio at the forest's lip. She began to sculpt cement and iron, broken pottery and mirror shards, coaxing new shrines from the roots of dying trees. Her work, and that of the new sacred art movement she inspired, recast the grove as a living museum of Yoruba cosmology, a strategy that ultimately shielded it from bulldozers. On 15 July 2005, the strategy triumphed. In Durban, South Africa, UNESCO inscribed the Osun-Osogbo Sacred Grove as a World Heritage Site, calling it the largest and perhaps the only remaining example of a once widespread phenomenon that used to characterize every Yoruba settlement. Overnight, the forest became a symbol not only of Osogbo, but of an entire civilization's refusal to vanish. The festival itself unfolds across 12 days each August, beginning with Iwo Popo, the cleansing of the town's roads, when palace drummers circle the streets at dawn. 3 nights later, the 16-point lamp, Ina Olojumeran Dinlogun, said to be 500 years old, flares above the market square, each flame a chapter of the Ifa corpus. Priests recite the verses while young boys run between the fires, tasting smoke like a promise. The Atauja, king and chief priest of Osogbo, retreats into the inner chambers of his palace to fast and consult the royal Babalawo. On the final morning, he emerges beneath a crimson parasol, preceded by the Arugba, a virgin chosen from his extended family, who balances a covered calabash of offerings on her head. Her feet are bare, her gaze fixed. She must not stumble, for she carries the town's petitions to the river. The procession snakes for a mile through streets lined with traders, worshippers, and travelers from Brazil, Cuba, and Louisiana who claim Yoruba blood in their veins. Bata drums thunder against adobe walls. Women in indigo and coral dance so the dust rises like incense. When the crowd enters the grove, the city's roar drops to a hush broken only by bird call and the slow drip of water from carved bamboo pipes. At the riverbank, the Ataoja kneels, lifts kola nut and pigeons, honey and yam, and speaks the exact words Olutimehin spoke 600 years ago. We remember, we return, we renew. The offerings slide into the current. Ripples carry them beneath overhanging roots, where terrapins watch with ancient eyes. The moment feels suspended, yet it is not static. In 2018, a sudden storm darkened the grove minutes before the final prayer. Lightning forked above the river. Worshippers scattered. When the sky cleared, the Arugba stood untouched. The calabash still balanced, and a double rainbow arched from shrine to shrine. Witnesses swear the river had risen exactly to the goddess's waist, no further, as if she had stepped in to receive her gifts personally. The story now circulates on WhatsApp and Instagram, proof that gods adapt faster than empires. But mysteries remain. Carbon dating of charcoal from the oldest shrine platform suggests human activity at the site at least 1,000 years ago, 4 centuries before Olutimehin's covenant. Whose voices echoed here then? And why, among the 400 plant species cataloged in the grove, does the Lonchocarpus cyanescens, the indigo tree, grow only on the northern bank, precisely where Osun is said to have first appeared? Botanists shrug, priests smile. Tonight, the river glides on, reflecting neon from distant billboards, while moonlight etches the faces of carved totems. Somewhere beyond the last torch, a night bird calls the name of a goddess who has outlived kingdoms, survived colonial maps, and still demands that a city pause to remember. The drums fade, but the covenant endures, written not on paper, but on water. If these questions stir you, if the thought of a forest that negotiates with time itself quickens your pulse, then travel deeper with history off the map. Subscribe, comment, share the stories you think the world has forgotten. The grove is vast, and every path leads to another secret.